We're back in the garage area to preview Iowa this weekend. We've got Cup and Xfinity both going there, but we should talk first and foremost about the big news of the day. Martin Truex Jr. is going to retire. Who could have seen this coming?
Yeah.
He spends 6 months out of the year debating as to whether or not he should retire or not. It's usually right there as to what lure he should buy and what boat he's going to put it on when he's out there. Martin Truex Jr. basically is retired already, from what I understand, and just shows up on the weekends to race cars.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was Denny Hamlin on one of the interviews somewhere along the lines. They asked about Martin being in the team meeting, and he's like, "Yeah, Martin's not in the team meetings." Truex, I think, enjoys his career as a professional race car driver, which I can't blame him. If you had a great team that you knew was going to bring a fast car to the track every single week, like Joe Gibbs Racing, like that 19 team, and you knew that you were going to have a shot at the playoffs every year, you knew that you were going to have a shot at winning races on a weekly basis, you had a great sponsor like Bass Pro Shops, and you could just go out there and do exactly what you love, why would you do anything else? I mean, he seems to really embody that role, and I really think he's the last of the old school racers to go out. You can argue about Denny Hamlin, you can argue about Kyle Busch, but they really were right at the end of that cusp of the new era of driver, in my opinion. Uh, and I feel like that's such a good fit with Bass Pro Shops and Martin Truex Jr. You just you're kind of out of that now. You're with sponsors that don't necessarily relate directly to the driver's personality so much.
Yeah.
But I just think that Bass Pro Shops, Martin Truex Jr. those mesh together really well. Brad Keselowski showed us that he and Miller Lite got along really well. Just other sponsorships throughout the years. Kevin Harvick and Busch Light was another good one. Um, but there's just kind of a bit of a sadness over that. And I was never a Truex fan, so to speak, but you have a lot of respect for the guy. You saw him drive race cars that were not good for so many years, not run well. Took him forever to get his first win, and didn't stack up too many after that. Was at a floundering MWR team, and finally got an opportunity with a team that really wasn't supposed to be anything, with Furniture Row Motorsports,
Yeah.
Furniture Row Racing, and ends up winning races in a championship there. And basically almost had this rose from the ashes type career there at the end.
Yeah. Well, from the beginning, with DEI and the number one car, it was pretty much, I would say, a dysfunctional team.
Yeah.
I mean, with Teresa running it, and then the MWR with the scandals they had. And,
Yeah.
and then, was it Furniture Row after that one?
Yeah.
And then,
I think so. I think it was.
they had the Chevy support, and then once Joe Gibbs gave them the Toyota support, whatever, was when Truex's career started taking off, and he got his championship. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, 2017 Cup Series champion, 2004 and 5 Xfinity Series champion, 30 some wins. I don't know exactly how many in the Cup Series. I think 44 or 5, somewhere there throughout his entire NASCAR career. Um, what do you think? Where do you think that lands on the list? Do you think he gets in the Hall of Fame
yeah.
just because of the championship?
Yeah.
Do you think that automatically qualifies him in there?
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean, Carl Edwards is in the Hall of Fame, and I feel like Truex has a better career overall than Edwards. So
that's probably true.
yeah,
I don't know how many championships that Truex has actually fought for, how many championship battles he's been in. I know Edwards
yeah,
has been in 3, and you always thought of him as a threat every year.
yeah,
And I'm not saying that you don't think of that with Truex, but just like last year, melted down in the first round of the playoffs.
yeah. I was surprised. Last year was a surprise meltdown
That's
or
true.
whatever. I mean,
That's true.
so but I feel like there was a few years in a row he was in the Final Four. I could be wrong, but just off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the stats in front of me, and I'm not going to look them up because I don't want to. But yeah, he wasn't somebody that I had a feeling like for a good stretch of time was constantly competing for championships, and largely that's due to the equipment he was in.
yeah,
But pretty much from the time that he won a championship with Furniture, I'd say probably the last 7 to 8 years, he should have been competitive
yeah,
every year, and he pretty much was. I mean, he did really rise to a threat every week from where he was, which is a big step forward from the position that he was in previously in his career. Um, yeah, got a lot of respect for the guy. I definitely think that he belongs in the Hall of Fame, like you said. I don't know where you'd put him in like the top 50 drivers if he makes that list or not, but I don't know. He's certainly somebody that's got a lot of talent.
yeah,
And I think that if he was earlier in his career, came to a position like he's in now at the 19 car, Joe Gibbs Racing, and really felt like he needed to work at it. And I'm not really knocking on his work ethic. I'm just saying like it doesn't appear from a fan's perspective like he works as hard as some of these other guys do, and he's still fast. So if he had put in the amount of effort that some of these other guys are to be fast every week, I would think that Truex could be a perennial champion contender for sure. So with all that talk and praise of Martin Truex Jr., something I didn't really think that I would do, I have bad history there being a Joey Logano fan with Martin Truex Jr., but that's kind of behind us now from Martinsville. But
oh yeah, I remember now.
Who do you think gets in the 19 car next year? There's a lot of rumors out there. People are talking about Noah Gragson with the connection to Bass Pro Shops. People are talking about the wildest one, I think, is Kyle Busch going back to Joe Gibbs Racing to get in the 19 car. I don't think that's going to happen.
It'll be the 18 now.
Yeah, you could go right back to the 18. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I could see this happening. I didn't know the 18 was free.
Yeah.
No, I like that idea. Boy, that would just be... That'd be wild. That'd be the big... We'd talk about that for 3 days.
He'd be the second driver to leave RCR before the contract's over.
Yeah.
In a row.
Yeah. You got
that 8 car with Reddick. You know?
Reddick won some more races in that 8 car, too.
Yeah. Actually, they both won 3 in the 8 car. So.
Is that all Reddick won? Was it
3? I think so. 3 road courses. I think is what he did.
Either way, you could be right. I don't know. We really don't need to quibble over that. Who do you think is going to be the most likely candidate to get in that 19 car?
I don't know. I heard a rumor that there was talks with Chase Briscoe.
Yeah.
Because, of course, he's looking for a ride, which was a surprise to me. I am curious where Corey Heim is.
Yep.
He's been rumored to be going to a third 2311 car.
Mm-hmm.
But considering where they're at with the charter talks, it looks like there's quite a big gap between NASCAR and the teams of...
It depends on who you ask. Brad says they're close to a deal. Denny says they're not even close. So who do you believe? They're both team owners. They're both drivers. It's hard to tell.
It was one of Denny's lawyers or something's one that's really taking the lead on this because he had the NBA deal or something experience.
Let's not claim that this guy is Denny's lawyer. This is Michael Jordan's lawyer. Denny has just hitched his wagon to this guy. Absolutely. So you think that Chase Briscoe is a prime candidate for this?
I think so.
What do you think that does to Chase Briscoe's career? Do you think that he's a driver worthy of being in that team?
I see instances with Stuart Haas that he runs up front sometimes.
Yeah.
That's kind of how all the drivers are over there. So
he's won at least a race. I don't know if he's won more than one or not.
Yeah, that's right. He did one Phoenix.
Yeah, he won.
Yeah, that kind of. Now that you remind me of that, them Gibbs cars are probably good on those tracks. That would definitely give him some short track advantage, I'd say. So it definitely would boost his career.
Oh, definitely.
Sure.
Yeah. I didn't know if he'd be like somebody that I hate to use him as an example, but like when Casey Mears went to Hendrick Motorsports, that should have been a big advantage for him back in like 2007.
Yeah.
And he won the Coke 600, and that was it. That's the only thing he ever won. There was a disparity between the driver talent and the equipment that was there. I don't know if you would see this being a similar situation to that, or if this is something that he automatically will start running better now.
I think he would automatically run better.
Okay, so that's...
I still maybe don't see him on the level of Denny Hamlin yet, or...
I wouldn't see anybody there for a while.
So...
yeah, you look at JGR, you got Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Ty Gibbs, they're all running really well every single week.
Yeah.
And so is Truex. Whether or not he's finishing there is a different story. But maybe you could make the same argument for Bell. Briscoe is who you think will go in the race car. Who do you think should go in the race car? If you could pick anybody and say you deserve this ride, who do you think it is? While you're thinking, I'll let you think on that for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and answer who I think is getting in the car, and I think it's going to be Corey Heim. I think that he is going to be somebody that eventually lands there. He's in Joe Gibbs' pipeline, not Denny Hamlin's pipeline. I think that if that is a seat that's opened up, and I think that this is as much news to Joe Gibbs Racing as it is to the rest of us that Truex is retiring. I think they truly didn't know before this week, and now that he's made that announcement, now I think that frees up a seat for somebody like a Corey Heim that's really run well.
Yeah, I was trying to go through the list ahead of my drivers in my head again, and Corey Heim slipped my mind, even though I just said him a couple minutes ago. But Yeah, I could definitely agree with that one.
You know who I get mixed up a lot is Corey Heim and Chandler Smith.
Yeah.
And I guess I could see whoever doesn't get in one, whether if 2311 gets another charter, whoever
Yeah.
doesn't get in one car gets in the other one. But I
Yeah.
think the two of those guys are probably who's coming up there.
Yeah, that makes.
I could see a situation where somebody like a Josh Berry gets in there, and that would be my answer to who I think deserves it. But I don't think Josh is a long-term solution either.
Yeah.
I think he's a good fit with the Bass Pro Shops thing. I think that he's a good, if they're going to stay sponsoring that car, I don't know. I think that he has proven his worth as a race car driver, and just needs, some more solid equipment under him than what he's getting right now in the 4 car. And I still think he's one of the better performers. I mean, you could argue about Noah being the best performer at Stewart-Haas. But I really think that, especially if Rodney Childers goes with Josh Berry,
Yeah.
that you're looking at a pretty good situation for him in that 19 car. But I just would be concerned about the longevity there and what they're looking to do. They're obviously a very young team minus Denny Hamlin. And who do they want to replace that Martin Truex factor with? Do they want to put another young guy in there and continue to let this team build as a whole in stages of, you got the experience of Christopher Bell, a little less, but gaining experience with Ty Gibbs and now whoever else is in there? Or are you going to want to put another veteran in that car? And then when Denny retires, you've got to replace 2 guys. I don't know what they would prefer to do in that situation. And who do you think deserves to be in it?
Yeah, I'm going to go Corey Heim also.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that he could make that leap and be okay.
He's got 4 truck wins already this year, so.
It's a good point.
And the trucks drive oddly similar to the Cup cars anymore, so.
We see what Carson Hocevar is doing in the Spire equipment,
Yeah.
so it's a pretty natural transition in my opinion. Let's talk about Iowa a little bit. That's where we're going this weekend. We've got the real Frankenstein repave. We have kind of not the bottom groove, but kind of in between the bottom and middle groove, if I understand it correctly, is what has actually been repaved.
It's like from the bottom to the middle, whatever, and then
Okay.
the high lane is wide open.
Wide
We're
open.
Still old concrete.
Old
Asphalt.
Yeah. So there was a tire test there. I don't know who was all in the tire test, who all was fast at the tire test. I know Larson was there. I heard that he was fast at the test.
Yeah. I believe Christopher Bell was in the Toyota car. So.
Okay. And then I don't know if it was Brad in the Ford or what, but
Sounds right, but
either way, I don't actually know. I'm completely guessing because they've done enough tests recently here that I've kind of got the drivers mixed up as to who went where. We don't really have any information at all in the Cup Series for Iowa as far as what those cars are going to be like. Plus it being a partial repave, and the Xfinity cars haven't been there since 2019. We really got nothing to go on this weekend to know what we should expect to see other than what we've seen in practice. And what we've seen in practice so far has been tires blowing out. You mentioned that there were several guys. How many cars blew tires in practice?
We had 5. See, Ty Gibbs blew his tire down I think it was a backstretch, and he kept it out of the wall. Then Christopher Bell was a lap later, and he hit the wall. He's got to go to a backup car.
Okay.
Ross Chastain blew a rear tire. The other 2 were right fronts, I believe, or left fronts. Yeah, outside front tires, left fronts. And Ross's was an inside rear tire, so that was the left rear. Then Austin Cindric hit the wall in his, and he'll probably have to go to a backup too. And then Tyler Reddick, his only went half down, didn't completely blow, but all of those tires were within the 18 to 20 lap range.
Wow.
So
we could see some tire disparity this weekend.
Yeah, but it's almost, I think it's one of those tire pressure deals that people are in the setup deals. I don't think they're wearing the tires; they're just going too low with the pressures, and then they're roading the tires and blowing them out.
Well, I'm sure they'll get that issue corrected before the Sunday night race, but I would like to just believe that it's a wear thing and not a setup issue. That's what I'm gonna hope for.
Christopher Bell, he said they interviewed him after his wreck. He says we ran 50 laps at the test, no problem. So
okay.
Their field run is 100 laps, so blowing tires every 20 laps is going to be quite the issue.
I would think so.
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting just scenario all the way around. We'll have to see what is there another practice session, correct?
No, just qualifying.
Just
tomorrow.
qualifying after that. Okay. So I'm sure they'll get that figured out one way or the other, and we'll have to see what qualifying looks like. and where those guys all shake out. The guys that blew tires and who else was on the list. In fact, let's actually look at the practice speeds a little bit. We got Noah Gragson at the top of the board, followed by Ty Gibbs, who you mentioned blew a tire. Alex Bowman, Justin Haley's in the top 5, and your boy Chase Elliott is there in 5th. Switching over to the Xfinity side, Corey Heim actually topped the charts in that 26 car, and that's followed by Jesse Love, Jeb Burton, Parker Kligerman, Sammy Smith, rounds out the top 5 there. Do you have a driver that you think is going to be somebody that sticks out to you in the Xfinity series, just because they run well in general every week, or somebody that you think is good, particularly at Iowa?
I would say Allgaier. He's got the corn on the 7 of the car too. So
we are in corn country.
Yeah. So, but I know it's a new pavement in the corners, and I know, but the track still has a lot of character, and I just feel like that's kind of one of Allgaier's strengths. He had one of the fastest 5-lap averages. I don't think many drivers ran more than 5 straight laps to give a better read after that, but he was in, I believe, the top 10 speeds or near there. And so,
looking at the lap averages in the Xfinity series, Sheldon Creed tops the list there, then Corey Heim, Jeb Burton, Chandler Smith, and Matt DiBenedetto. Matty D is somebody that I would like to see get a good run, but I really think it's going to be a Gibbs car. The fact that John Hunter Nemechek is in the field makes me think that he could be a possible threat here, just because of his talent and experience. I expect to see somebody like a Jesse Love run well. But yeah, the fact that Corey Heim has got a fast lap and a good fast lap average makes me think that he's going to have a fast car, and I'd be keeping an eye on him personally. What about the Cup Series? We obviously don't have any data to go on, but who do you think is going to be fast at Iowa this weekend?
Well, I'd say for sure Gibbs and Hendrick cars are the easiest ones to go by.
Just because they're fast every week.
And anytime there's a track repave, Joey Logano seems to be fast, or any place new. So I don't really have much more information than that because I don't.
But who's going to be your pick to win this weekend?
I'm picking Joey Logano just to see if the newness continues, or I can break a streak.
Yeah, he does have that kind of an aura around him where he performs well at new things in the sport. I'm going to go Kyle Larson because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It just, Kyle Larson, if you put guys out there on a racetrack that nobody's got any information on, and you just need a driver to figure it out, I think Kyle Larson's at the top of his game to do something like that. And he's in a Hendrick car. He won last week. I just can't bet against him. I'm not looking for this to happen as a Joey Logano fan. I really hope you are correct. But I just kind of anticipate Larson being a car that's going to be a big threat this upcoming week. Speaking of Joey Logano, he is the first matchup in the bracket for the Denny Hamlin Bracket Challenge this week. He's going against Brad Keselowski. Who do you see matching up better there? Obviously, you're picking Joey Logano to win, so I think you're going to say that you think Joey's going to get that position over him.
Looking at practice, I believe Joey had better time over Brad and stuff too. So
I hate to bet against Brad just because of how well he's been finishing races recently. And Joey's had speed, but he's not finished races well. So I'm going to go on the opposite side of the fence from you there, and I'm actually going to say that I think Brad Keselowski advances out of this bracket, and I actually have that on my pick as well. The next one down is Chase Elliott and Noah Gragson. Who do you got?
Gragson was fast.
He was fastest in practice.
Well, my bracket, I have Elliott.
Yep.
Which is kind of worrying me now, seeing how Gragson is, because I believe he wasn't just fast on single lap speed. He had some
average speed.
And the only thing is, I feel like Elliott's team executes better. They have the fastest pit stops. Chase hasn't sped on pit road in over 80 some races. And
well, he will this week because you said that.
Yeah, probably.
I am so looking forward to making that a clip.
But that's who I got. I gotta stay with Elliott. I just know the team as a whole. I feel like Gragson hasn't finished. The races. So
I agree with you in the fact of the same logic I used with the Joey and Brad thing. Gragson is fast, but he's not getting the finishes that Chase Elliott is. Chase Elliott is bringing good finishes every single week, even though you don't necessarily hear him talked about as a threat to win every single week. So I'm also going to go with Chase Elliott there. Chris Buescher and Ross Chastain is the next group. Chastain was fast in practice.
Yeah.
I don't know who you're thinking here. I don't know who you
Yeah.
picked.
I feel like Buescher, other than like last week at Sonoma, had been struggling
Yeah.
compared to Keselowski. And I mean, Chastain was good last week also, so he got a 5th place finish. So, I don't even know who I have right now.
He did have a 5th place finish at the expense of Kyle Busch, I'll point out. But go ahead.
I have Chris Buescher moving on.
Yeah.
But that was versus Michael McDowell.
Yeah.
And, man, I'm really
Conflicted.
torn, I guess,
Yeah.
is what it is. But yeah, I feel like Chastain kind of picked it up the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I feel like that
Yeah.
Chastain train's getting hot, and that's what makes me
Yeah.
a little bit concerned. I think that Buescher is running well. I think Gateway was kind of really his only one off where he didn't have a good finish. He was running really well up to that point, and then didn't have a very good Gateway run. If I'm correct, I don't know. I'd have to look
Yeah.
back at the finishing results. I just have that feeling. And then Chastain, as I said, is picking it up lately. You're starting to see that the aggression pick up a little bit
Yeah.
from him. I won't say what Door Bumper Clear calls it, but that seems to be picking back up here recently. So I am also saying that I believe Chastain's going to beat him out this week in the bracket. Final matchup: Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick. I'm going to make it easy. I'm picking Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I'm picking Kyle Larson also.
It's not that I don't think Reddick's going to be fast, and I think he is fast just in the lap averages as well. But he is. They're going to mess it up on pit road. They're going to do something to where Kyle Larson ends up beating him out. That's my assumption, unless
Yeah.
Larson gets wrecked.
And
Which,
Reddick seems to, like, he almost had Sonoma won until he probably over pushed it trying to stay ahead of Larson there in that pit road sequence.
yeah,
And I'm trying to, it was versus something, trying to remember what other race it was that he did something that he probably should have just backed off at the time. It's now drawing a blank to where it was. But Reddick, I think, is still kind of aggressive when he shouldn't be.
I gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, Larson can do that sometimes too.
Yeah,
but-
that's true. We saw him hit the water barrels at the end of pit road at Homestead last year because of that. I agree. Both of these guys, I think it's a good matchup because if there's any hope at all of making the upper groove work, which I don't know if there is or isn't,
They started getting like a second lane to work. There's only like a car width up, but you can only do so much with 50 minutes of practice.
True.
And cars in and out to rubber up the track to get the grooves to work. So
I can see those two guys being the ones up there making it work, though, is my point. I
Yeah.
think that those two guys are going to probably be pretty evenly matched other than the race car underneath them, and that's where I'm giving Larson the advantage there because I think he is going to be the faster of the two of them. That's all I got from Iowa this week before we kick it off and get to watch the races this upcoming weekend. Late start time for the Cup Series because of Father's Day. They seem to do that around holidays, want to start the races in the evening. Why don't you just start it the night before? Really would appreciate that. Rather watch a night race on a Saturday night instead of a Sunday night, especially if we don't have the next day off. But certainly looking forward to this one at Iowa just because of all the unknown. What about you?
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it just doesn't become a one line groove like
Yeah.
a lot of people are suggesting it may.
Yep.
Hopefully maybe the transitions from old asphalt to new asphalt will create something that we didn't expect to see.
It's possible.
That's what I'm hoping for. So.
That's what I'm hoping for too. I'm hoping tires wear out and don't blow out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. Well, that's what I would like to see. And speaking of liking, I hope you're going to like this video and the other content that we're putting out. So just make sure that you keep watching, subscribing, and letting us know what you think.